Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 593rd Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. My name is David Farrar, and I am the Provost and Vice President Academic of the university. This morning, it is my great pleasure to act as your Master of Ceremonies and also to be the first person to welcome you to this morning's Convocation ceremony. I would like to start by recognizing and acknowledging that we meet today on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and the Haudenosaunee nations within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge some of the leaders joining me on stage today. Our Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, our President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Patrick Dean, our Vice President, University Advancement, Ms. Mary Williams, Vice Provost, International Affairs, Dr. Peter Masher, Dean of Science, Dr. Maureen Mcdonald. We're joined by Associate Vice Presidents, Associate Deans, Chairs, Directors, faculty members, and our honored guests. Before we start this morning's ceremony, may I ask everyone in the hall to switch off any electronic device that may beep or ring during the ceremony. I would now like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, to make her welcoming remarks.
Welcome, honored guests, staff, faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, graduands. This is an exciting day for all of you who are graduating today, as well as for all those people who have supported you and stood behind you, and in many cases have had a key role in you being here today. You've achieved a great deal to get here, and you should all be very proud of your success and looking forward to what the future might bring. Congratulations, and enjoy the ceremony.
I would now like to welcome Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, to the podium, who will be presenting our honorary degree recipient.
Madam Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Thomas L. Neff. Thomas Neff is an accomplished physicist and a visionary who played an important and underappreciated role in the stability and security of the global community following the end of the Cold War. Dr. Neff earned his Bachelor of Arts degree from Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon, and his PhD in theoretical physics from Stanford University. He then held postdoctoral positions at Berkeley, Stanford, and MIT. At Stanford, he was executive assistant to the president of the American Physical Society, the APS, where he made material contributions to the development and oversight of the first studies conducted by the APS, as well as the founding of the Panel on Public Affairs. Moving to MIT, Dr. Neff served as Director of International Energy Studies for a decade, guiding a program that integrates economics, finance, and political science with science and technology studies of international oil, gas, and nuclear fuel markets, as well as energy technology development. Dr. Neff is the author of several books and many scholarly articles for journals, including Physical Review and Foreign Affairs. He is currently a senior member of MIT's Center for International Studies and previously served as senior staff member for Nuclear Power Issues and Choices, the Ford Foundation's study of nuclear power and non-proliferation. To many people, the pinnacle of Dr. Neff's list of accomplishments began in 1991, immediately after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, when he realized that the Soviet stockpile of nuclear weapons was a potential threat to global security, but also a potential source of affordable energy. He proposed that the United States purchase tons of uranium from retired Russian weapons in order to dilute it into fuel for use by domestic electrical utilities. The program that Dr. Neff envisioned and then stewarded for 2 decades became known as megatons to megawatts, and from 1995 to 2014, it recycled 20,000 Russian nuclear warheads into enough electricity to power 115 million American households for 2 years. Dr. Neff is a fellow of the American Physical Society and a past member of the Council of the Federation of American Scientists. He has served as an advisor to the United States Department of State, the Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, the Executive Office of the President, the Department of Energy, Congress, and other government agencies. He has also served as an advisor to governments and corporations in Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, North and South America, and Central Asia. In 1997, he received the APS Leo Szilard Lectureship Award for his work with megatons to megawatts. Madam Chancellor, it is a privilege to present Thomas Neff to you so that you may honor his contributions to physics and to world peace by conferring upon him the degree Doctor of Science honoris causa.
Thomas Neff, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Science honoris causa at McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. We'll get you to sign over here. I would now like to invite Dr. Neff to deliver the convocation address.
Good morning, and congratulations, and especially to all the parents here. Having raised 2 generations of children, I know how you must be feeling, the parents. I realized last night that a lot of you who are graduating today don't know much about the Cold War. That was a period of 40 years in which the US and the Soviet Union arrayed roughly 40,000 nuclear weapons at each other, each of which was capable of destroying a city. And somehow we managed to avoid any major disruption. When the Soviet Union broke up, however, as Patrick said, all those weapons became surplus. And in a way, I guess I became the person who had to do something about them. And they could have gone anywhere. Roughly about 50 years ago, and I'm old, I began where you are now. Finishing my PhD, I thought I had a career plan, as probably you do. First, a postdoctoral appointment in physics, and then a professorship somewhere. But that didn't work out too well. You have to be prepared to change your plans. Your first job is obviously going to be related to what you studied here, but after that, you're going to rely on something else you may not have realized you learned here, which is you've learned how to learn, which means that in any given situation, you can't become a biochemist, but you can learn enough biochemistry to deal with some issue in business that might rely on experts in biochemistry. So that ability to learn new things is what will get you through the next careers that you undoubtedly will have. My career was derailed first very early on when the head of the Physical Society, Wolfgang Panofsky, or PIEF to those who knew him, who was also running a giant research laboratory, consulting to the CIA and others. And he didn't have time to be president, and so he gave me the job. I went to lots of meetings, helped Congress with legislation, met with Vice President Ford just before Nixon resigned, and doing things I had no idea how to do. Everybody tells you to find a mentor, but they never tell you how. My suggestion is find a busy person and ask if you can help. I then went on to do studies and went on to do quite a number of different things, as Dr. Dean has indicated. When there were no jobs in physics, I had to make another turn, which was, I was a postdoc in physics at MIT, but there were no faculty jobs anywhere teaching physics. So I joined the energy laboratory, had to learn a great deal very fast about energy markets. And to my surprise, it turned out that one could do that. When I was looking into this, into the thought of the HEU deal, I call it the highly enriched uranium deal, or megatons to megawatts. Someone asked me, well, do you speak Russian? And I said, no. Every time I've learned something, I've found I eventually used it somehow, so keep learning. When I didn't learn something, such as Russian, I really regretted it. It was in October of '91, I saw the Soviet Union collapsing, wondered what happened to all those weapons. I got invited to a meeting, got myself invited to a meeting in Washington in which the head of the Soviet nuclear weapons program came. I cornered him in the hallway, handed him my pending up editorial in the New York Times which was published 5 days later, proposing such a deal. That is, if they would collect together their nuclear weapons, take them apart, and blend down the highly enriched uranium in them, they could sell it, which they did. It was actually about 30,000 nuclear weapons, and it was converted into power plant fuel that provided 10% of US electricity for 20 years. The thing was that if a weapon was lying around guarded by somebody who was not getting paid, that was fairly dangerous. I pointed out that it could be worth about $500,000 for the highly enriched uranium in it. So all of a sudden the guards got paid and they took good care of the weapons. Nothing ever went astray. So basically everything I'd ever studied came together. The physics of nuclear weapons, uranium market research, which had to be done commercially. That stuff had to be sold. Business experience. I'd been a consultant to many companies and governments all over the planet. And the ability to overcome fear. The deal did not go easily. I mean, you can have a good idea, and many people say, I've had this good idea, now somebody do something about it. Well, it didn't happen. There was no interest in Washington. I went to the National Security Council. I went to everybody I knew. The US didn't have a Cold War policy in 1991, a post-Cold War policy. The Bush administration was conflicted. Russia was still our enemy, and they were unwilling to propose something in which the Russians might demand that the US dismantle its own nuclear weapons, which it wasn't going to do. My suggestion made its way to Boris Yeltsin, who proposed it to George H.W. Bush. They ignored it. I then went to the head of the weapons program, who is now the Minister of Atomic Energy, drafting a letter for him to send to a whole list of people in Washington, including Bush's opponents in the next election. And McAuliffe then went to, in July of '92, to meet with many people in the United States, including Democrats who were running against Bush and the Republicans. Bush had to do something. He was going to be embarrassed otherwise, so he signed a government-to-government agreement with what was then Russia, with Boris Yeltsin. That didn't mean he still wanted to do it. It just means he had to take a step. The big trick was making the deal happen. One had to engineer both the diplomatic part and the commercial part of the deal. There was a lot of corruption on both sides, venal behavior, fratricidal government actions, and a lot of incompetence. So that idea that I thought would take care of itself basically required recurrent intervention. That was 24 trips to the former Soviet Union, frustrating actions that might destroy the deal, embarrassing officials on both sides, telling one group of Russians what a corrupt bunch of other Russians were trying to do. The lesson here is persistence is really necessary. Russia destroyed more than 30,000 nuclear weapons, and that reduction allowed the United States to destroy about 15,000 of its own. Russia was paid $17 billion to make power plant fuel for the United States. And let me close in saying it was a Canadian company, Cameco Corporation in Saskatchewan, that led a US, French, German consortium to carry out this swords into plowshares deal. They found a way to reconcile their business interests with the global good, and that may be something you want to keep in mind as you pursue your multiple careers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Neff. I think what we forget, and Dr. Neff is a wonderful example, I mean, apart from being obviously a wonderful scientist, is how much one person can make a difference. That with persistence, knowledge, and integrity, you can make things happen. And sometimes you only see it when you look back. And it does remind me, as I do remember the Cold War, which dates me as well, and you don't. But you realize that what Dr. Neff has helped done was give us the 20 years of peace we've had since then that allow you to grow up in the environment that you've been. So for that, we are absolutely delighted that he's accepted an honorary degree from us, and we are really pleased to include him in the McMaster family. Thank you very much, Dr. Neff.
President Dean will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Madam Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates and those in absentia in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit to those before me today and those in absentia to their individual degrees at McMaster University, with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you into the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that each graduate's name may be heard, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduates, you would hold your collective applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Austin Alexander Brown. Stephanie Jones. Daniel Sexton. Evan McNabb. Ji Yang. Lisette Maldonado Alvarez. Abhinav Garg. Laila Hossainzadeh. Amir Sadeh Kazimi. Mirto Koroyanaki. Smriti Syamal. Fei Shou. Don Young. Liz Gumares de Azeredo Melo. Karen Phoebe Lamb. Daniel Lee Smiley. Sarah Allison Stewart. Sadi Salam. Akram Alice. Ronald Eden Burton. Yuang Zhao. Zhenha Li. Taekyung Wang. Ying Wei Wang. Paul Kinau. Sheikh Jamil Ahmed. Syed Yusuf Tabatibai Mazed. Karsten Hempel. Kumayo Karimi. Tao Tan. Salim El Bozidi. Brock Howie. Yi Huo. David Nakala. Sarah Nangal Smith. Adam Donald Ritchie. Eric Salt. Ayman Saban, Gabriel McGill, Raphael David Shulman, Robert Nathan Collins, Ali Hassemi, L. Kathleen Oliver, Tamara Michelle Rosner, Zena Trainer, Mohammad Noor Hussain,
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduate of the degree Master of Arts. Zahra Akbari. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Science. Michael Robert MacLeod. Ron Padilla. Bansri Dhruv Patel. Morgan Lee Pichak. Lindsay Grace Ann Rayner. Michael Tadashi Sullivan Takahashi. Christina Shamshum. Sarah Jamil. Thomas William Mudway. Afroja Parvin. Chen He Lee. Jun Lee. Yang Di Lu. Andrew David Sutton. Jetal Agnihotri. Sean Erin Ford. Alexander Furukawa. Anya Krivi Jansen. Julian Gordon. Faraz Dak Bohra. Aza Habra. Ye Eun Kim. Navida Lahrudi. Andre Simos Larangero. Janine Elseus. Shireen Marie Harris. Josephine Sabrina Jakubowski. Kristen Michelle Lucibello. Jonathan McLeod. Danish Mohameden Amin Mullah. Michelle Agrodnik. Nelson Ian Sadler. Brian Gonsalves. Alexei Kuzmin. Pritpal Matharu. Blair Fraser Walker. Oi Zhang. Melanie Demas. Jasper Jacob Grond. Carmen Ling Ling Lee. Joseph James Rushka. Eric Michael Turner. Akash Deep. Zishan Haki. Hannah Kearney. Tina Cosset. Mariam Pandi. Tasha Dawn Petka. Lauren Christine Smale. Sir Wing Chung. Shin Tong. Suvin Chandula Fernando. Jarai Hu. Forrest Payton. Xiaolan Tu. Chenchi Yu. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Applied Science. Kelly Ann Johnson. Jeffrey Chung Ho Leung. Ava Müller. Alexander Nguyen. Yusuf Hermes. Kushal Panchal. Maria Jimena Ruiz Caldas. Kurt James Westhaver. Sang-won Yu. Mohammed Reza Mohammadi. Brianna Nichelle Node. Fayez Sheikh Al-Zur. Farzad Forutan. Hamed Hassan Isadi. Peng Fei Kan. Ling Shi Kong. Nicholas Kevin Leahy. Mud Tawfiq Zaman Redwan. Saeed Rostami. Mackenzie John Francis Wotton. Simon Andrew McNamee. Andrew Thomas Walker. Hao Yi Fan. Chiara Micheletti. Diyar Salehian. Shinya Zhao. Mohammed Ibrahim Hassan Ibrahim Ali. Cooper John Leonard Gluck. Isaac Major Yatskiel. Enzo Jia. Tongrui Lee. Kishore Kumar Nagaraj. Rin Vadala.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Engineering. Oscar Alfredo Tirado Romero. Zihao Zhang. Hongyu Khan. Aruj Ahmed Qureshi. Masood Hosseini. Fiona Stewart. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Engineering Design. Mohammed Moiz Ahmed. Razan Ala Makhwal. Sabah Nouri Mohammed Al Hussein. Mohammed Hussein Alisawi. Sai Prasant. Suraj Bahardawaj. Hemant Bhakhtia. Harjot Singh Hunjan. Vishal Jha. Arashpreet Kaur. Sharandeep Kaur. Ricardo Lozano Armenta. Ainhoa Luna Negrin Alonso. Adetola Olufanifisi Oyegbola. Nirav Patel. Jihao Chi. Rowan Chishawi. Ashish Dilip Kumar Shah. Nishant Ashkobai Shukula. Lin Song. Ruth Sotelo. Jingyi Sun. Yunong Sun. Hao Tan. Namandi Omulu. Luisa Maria Valencia Vega. Junwei Wang. Han Yao. Yining Zhu. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Engineering in Public Policy. Mirabel Ajaji. Marwan Alaidi. Danish Iqbal Karmali. Kamaldeep Kaur. Amar Maharaj. Meena Makhtavi. Oladime Tunde Olauwo. Frida Aleda Sandoval. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Engineering in Manufacturing Engineering. Mohammed Assad. Sai Sudhir Gupta Garavarapatu. Jeffen George. Tijani Andrew Inemoch. Prasanna Venkatesh Karalungam Sridhar. Hossein Kavandi Modabar. Jinfeng Liu. Yash Mode. Akshay Selvam. Jagpal Singh. Sabri Thanangavel. Kaidi Wong. Kai Wen Zheng.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Applied Science Honours. Nadia Luisa Drazilov. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science Honours. Shwin Akenesuwan. Ghazal Akbari. Saeed Babur Mansoor Ali. Andrea Carmen Agostino Alves. Hannah Fadila Amin. Arunika Bal. Victoria Sarah Bednarek. Miriam Bilmetz. Jocelyn Marie Brenner. Aidan Ross Bullen. Paul Choi. Danielle Julie Chimeno. Joshua Anthony Collins. Jasleen Kaur Dillon. Shelby Lynn Dunbar. Corinne Elise Marie Duperuzo. Kyla Hansen Klaus. Helen Huing. Kwok Phai Hung. Amna Iqbal. Divya Jain. Rafia Javed. Ryan Austin Jivanayagam. Sanjana Kamat. Rahul Kapil. Hannah Elizabeth Keefe. Kavita Korea. Vinoja Krishnanathas. Megan Ka Wai Lau. Kyla Pamela Lenfesti. Serena Livrizi. Salman Lodi. Kashfi Karim Manji. Sahand Mohammadi. Sharujaya Nadaraja. Jathuya Peranan Tharuban. Zahra Sarda. Halima Shiraz. Aya Sida Hamid. Sofia Monica Sosnovsky. Sophia Su. Harish Sukhumar. Vanessa Van Hoot. Ona Wu. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science, Kinesiology Honours. Stephanie Borsati. Daniela Grace Brunato. Miranda Abigail Cooper. Morgan Alexandra Jackson. Paige Lynn Jeffries. Mark Robert Mackey. Daniel Chi Yang Suen. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science, Kinesiology. Alexandra Kenyon Lee. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science. Eyul Samuel Berahun. Julian Federico Casano. Yu Jin Choi. Karanpal Bobby Singh Gill. Samer Kulab. Diana Karen Leon Tong. Francesca McFadden. Cassandra McLeod. Lily Nguyen. Carl Anthony Rada. Rachel Emily Taylor. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Medical Radiation Sciences. Zaiba Koya. Vanessa Michenko. Rida Yasmin.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Engineering and Management. Ali Dingjor. Tariq Hamdan. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Engineering and Society. Desmond Flowers. Jamal Habash. Natalie Joy Martin. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Engineering. Mohammed Balkhi. Ren David Murillo Diamond. Lilia Ruth Fuller-Thompson. Ryan Daniel Kohler. Himesh Kurera. Bilal Tariq Mirza. Mohammed Tala Mozam. Alistair Johnston Sinton. Rui Bao Zhao. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Applied Science. James Zhu. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Technology. Lujin Abuhudar. Amanda Elizabeth Arts. Khaled Kalas. Cameron Ian Miller. Hadi Musavi. Patrick Pruzak. Akash Roy. Sarndeep Sawata. Chino Camus Villarreal.
Let's give one more round of applause to all of our graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce Ms. Saruja Nataraja, a graduate of the degree Bachelor of Science Honors in the Life Science program, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Good morning, Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, Provost Farrar, esteemed faculty, honored guests, family, friends, and most importantly, my fellow graduates. It's been said that we just don't recognize the most significant moments of our lives while they're happening. We grow complacent with ideas or things or people, and we take them for granted. And it's usually not until something's about to end that we come to realize just how much it meant to us. Convocation is an event that typically represents an ending, but it also poses an opportunity to think about our beginnings, and in doing so, reflecting on everything that came in between. McMaster has been my home since I was 12 years old. From the moment I took my first steps onto this campus to move my sister into McKay Hall. I didn't know it at the time, but this place was going to change me, and maybe it's changed you too. When I was a little girl, my uncle used to have this big atlas road map. He would always pull it out when I went over to his house, and he asked me to find where I was. Then he would take his finger and point it on a specific place on the map. He would tell me to figure out how I would get there. So I would collect the map and go sit on his creaky old brown rocking chair and meticulously come up with the most linear, calculated path. I'd go back to him and show him my drawing. He would nod, then return the book back to me and say, "Try to find another way." So I had a turn here and there, and I'd go back to him. And each time, he would always do the same thing. He would nod and give the book back to me. We would keep doing that until I eventually ran out of new ways to find. 15 years later, I have my uncle to thank for my great sense of direction. But every so often, I still find myself getting a little bit lost. And in those moments, I can't help but think of the Atlas Roadmap, or what my uncle may have been trying to show me as a very young child, that there was more than one way of doing something, and there's certainly more than one way of getting somewhere. And you are all a testament of that. While we all started our journey at McMaster together, each of us had our own path to get to this podium, a path that wasn't short of roadblocks or challenges that tested our inner capacity of strength and resilience. And in those moments of adversity, maybe we were not so different after all. We all experienced instances of failure and self-doubt, followed by moments where we demonstrated exponential personal and professional growth. I remember when I was a campus tour guide and a student had asked me why I had chosen to come to McMaster. Sitting here today, minutes away from receiving your degree, you might be pondering that very same question. McMaster was a place where who I was mattered just as much as what I decided to do, I said. The education you have received wasn't just about training you to be exceptionally skilled scientists and engineers. It was about building environments where you could figure out the type of person you are, but more importantly, the type of person you wanted to be. Today, you become McMaster graduates. While there is great honor and pride that comes with that, there's also a great sense of responsibility to cultivate your spirit of discovery and innovation, to ask thought-provoking questions about the world around you, and to come up with answers that will enable you to do things that you couldn't do before. Immerse yourself into the complexities of the world's problems and challenge yourself to come up with those big ideas. But in that pursuit to create a brighter world, never lose sight of who you are or all that you stand for. Hold tight to the values that are deeply embedded in the foundations of this community and that will transcend with you as you leave this campus behind. Class of 2018, it's time to take that step forward. And maybe you know what direction you're going in, and maybe you're a little bit lost. But if I can leave you with some parting words, take that step in pursuit of a larger purpose, one that will empower you to unlock your greatest potential and guide you to chase your passions with integrity. And regardless of where you go and what you do, you can take comfort in knowing that you will always have a home here at McMaster. Congratulations, and I look forward to seeing the journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Surja. May I now call upon the Dean of Science, Dr. Maureen Mcdonald, who will present the Governor General's Gold Medal.
The Governor General's Academic Medal is one of the most prestigious awards a student in Canada can receive. Established in 1873, this honor recognizes exceptional academic achievement at the high school, collegiate, undergraduate, and graduate levels. Each year, McMaster awards just one Governor General's Gold Medal to the student at the university who has achieved the highest academic standing at the graduate level. Earning this accolade not only places this year's recipient among the top students to graduate from McMaster, it places them among the top students in Canada. On behalf of Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Julie Payette, it gives me great pride to present the Governor General's Academic Gold Medal to Raphael Schulman. Madam Chancellor, I ask that you and all those present join with me to express recognition of his achievement.
Congratulations, Raphael. May I now introduce Margaret Zanell, a 1989 Bachelor of Commerce graduate and a 1990 MBA graduate. Margaret is a representative of the McMaster Alumni Association and will now deliver the Alumni Association address.
Watch my glasses here. Good morning. Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and especially members of the McMaster class of 2018. Not long ago, or so it seems, I was in the audience here in Convocation instead of being on the stage. So there's a couple of things you should know. First, close up, the Chancellor's robes are quite fancy, I must say. They're lovely. And second, Hamilton Place looks quite much bigger than it ever did this way, facing that way. So to the newest members of the McMaster Alumni Association, I want to warmly welcome you to the McMaster alumni family on behalf of more than 190,000 members who have come before you. It's a big, diverse group, and I know you will all fit in just fine. Right now, you might feel like there's a big reason not to stay connected to the Alumni Association, but there is. Especially in your first few years after graduation, the association can do quite a bit for you. Our MAC 10 program, for example, provides social activities, career assistance, and online and in-person networking. And if you haven't already used our online mentoring program to access the wisdom of hundreds of fellow MAC grads, I encourage you to take advantage of the network that's right in front of you and waiting to help you with your next steps. If you would benefit from a personal touch, visit the Alumni Career Counselor, whose role it is to assist recent graduates in successfully achieving their goals. You'll learn about MAC 10 and the alumni programs if you watch your email box and follow the Alumni Association in all of your favorite social platforms. Pick and choose the opportunities that mean the most to you, and the association can do everything from connecting you to an alumni hangout in a new city that you're living, or give you a great deal on insurance for your next car or apartment. So there's way more information on mac10.ca and in the emails that you'll be getting, so you don't need me to run through every opportunity that the association provides. Instead, let me finish by encouraging you to stay connected, just as I have. You'll receive MAC, the Alumni News Magazine, twice a year delivered to your home as well as in your inbox. Each month you're going to see the Maroon Mail, our e-newsletter, which if you choose to pay attention to one piece, it's the one that you should keep your eye out on. Your relationship with McMaster should really continue beyond the moment you return those fabulous gowns. I hope it does. I hope the university is a part of your progress, your story, and your lifelong achievements. Really, you've just gotten started. This is a great day for all of you. I'm actually very jealous. I'm quite moved by the procession. I remember the feeling, so congratulations. Enjoy these amazing accomplishments you've achieved, and welcome to the McMaster Alumni Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. I now invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to give his President's address.
Madam Chancellor, Dr. Neff, distinguished colleagues, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. A strange English saying, with which you're likely all familiar, asserts that curiosity killed the cat. Cats certainly do enjoy nosing around in things, and of course that can be dangerous for them at times. But we haven't always believed such behavior has potentially fatal consequences. In fact, the proverbial cause of feline death until the very end of the 19th century was not curiosity, but care, in the sense of worry or anxiety. Care killed the cat is the form of the proverb you find in Shakespeare, for example. In 1898, however, we find Curiosity Killed the Cat appearing in print for the first time. But what else happened in that year? William Ramsay and Morris Travers discovered the rare gases, neon, krypton, and xenon, without which the long-life light bulb and the thermal multi-pane window would not have been possible. Marie and Pierre Curie revealed in July that they had discovered polonium. Polycarbonates, without which we would not have DVDs today, were first discovered. And polyethylene, or plastic, was first synthesized. 433 Eros, the first near-Earth object, was discovered in the sky. Physician and Nobel laureate Camillo Golgi discovered the Golgi apparatus, the network inside cells which enables the transmission and reception of information between cells. Rudolf Diesel patented what was later known as the diesel engine. And on December the 21st, the Curies discovered radium. All of these discoveries were in one way or another the result of curiosity. And it is certainly true that a number of them were very dangerous. Marie Curie, for example, died in 1934 of aplastic anemia caused by radiation exposure. 433 Eros, the 16-kilometer diameter asteroid, whose orbit brings it perilously close to Earth, would certainly have apocalyptic consequences for all of us, including descendants of the cat who discovered it. But of course, strictly speaking, such a hypothetical disaster would have nothing to do with the curiosity of the person who identified the asteroid. In fact, if it were on a collision course for Earth, it might be better not to know. The cat, in that case, will be dead, whether curious or incurious. Most speakers of English today know the curious cat proverb and have assimilated its message, perhaps very easily assimilated it in the nuclear age, that he that prieth into every cloud may be struck by a thunderbolt, as the older English proverb has it. Interestingly, though, in the mid-20th century, there emerged a rejoinder to the original proverb that is still very little known. In response to the declaration that curiosity killed the cat, came the assertion, satisfaction brought it back. In other words, the negative consequences or effects of curiosity are redeemed by the knowledge it generates. Or put yet another way, satisfaction, the possessing of answers, the achieving of solutions, is inseparable from, and in a real sense justifies, the sometimes risky journey which curiosity compels us to take. Albert Einstein famously said of himself, "I have no special talents, I am only passionately curious." And from that passionate curiosity came insights that altered fundamentally the way in which our universe is understood, as well as our relationship with that universe. Without the general theory of relativity, no GPS would work accurately. Without Einstein's 1904-1905 theory of the photoelectric effect, we would have no solar panels. And without his 1917 theory of stimulated emission, we might have no lasers. Laser, of course, being an acronym for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. It is a source of great satisfaction and an illustration of the power of curiosity that Dr. Donna Strickland, one of the winners of this year's Nobel Prize for Physics and an alumna of this university, conducted her Nobel-winning work while a PhD student at the University of Rochester in New York. Demonstrating the truth of Einstein's assertion that the important thing is not to stop questioning, Dr. Strickland looked for ways to increase the peak power of lasers, to amplify the existing means of amplifying light, as it were. And her invention, chirped pulse amplification, won her the 2018 Nobel Prize. Curiosity is fundamental to the research mission of our university. The desire to understand the world around us and to ask and answer the questions we have is the element that underpins all the work that happens in labs, libraries, offices, and performance spaces across the campus. Not all the questions we ask and not all the answers we provide have immediate application or impact. but all of them deepen our understanding and lead us on to other questions and answers which may, in time, have a transformative effect upon human beings, culture, society, and the physical world. That is the satisfaction that ultimately validates curiosity. Whether it is immediately discernible or whether it discloses itself over decades or centuries, the fruit of our questioning sustains human progress. That last is an observation pertinent to many other aspects of life besides research. Curiosity is as essential to a learner in the first year of university as it is to a Nobel Prize-winning investigator. And although the satisfaction that results is more personal than public, accruing in the first instance to the learner rather than to the broader world, in the long run, we owe every great discovery to curiosity as an individual's habit of mind. Here at McMaster, we describe ourselves as research-focused, student-centered, in order to draw attention to this continuity. What goes on in the undergraduate humanities classroom may look and may be very different from what goes on in the Michael G. DeGroote Center for Infectious Disease Research. But both are driven by the same spirit of inquiry and questioning. Curiosity is no less vital to human progress outside of the academic context. At a time when talk of fake news and even fake research is rife, the importance of questioning the things we read and hear and continuing to be curious about the world around us becomes ever more important. The skills of critical thinking, analysis, discernment, and carefully reasoned judgment, which all of the graduates sitting before me have been exposed to during their time at McMaster, are the tools needed to respond to the post-truth environment in which we find ourselves today. Without curiosity and a highly developed skill at asking questions, we risk becoming like the White Queen in Lewis Carroll's Alice Through the Looking Glass. When Alice observes, "One can't believe impossible things," the White Queen replies, "I dare say you haven't had much practice. When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Graduates, if every morning you follow a certain world leader on Twitter, you will realize it is indeed possible to believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Generally, though, and except in our experience of art and other deliberate acts of the creative imagination, believing impossible things is good for neither the individual nor society. When ideology trumps evidence, as on climate change, for example, the consequences for our world are positively and profoundly destructive. On the other hand, curiosity and an active critical engagement with society and the world open opportunities for us to advance our collective well-being and the health of our planet. Your studies at McMaster, in whatever discipline, have equipped you to contribute meaningfully to that vitally important cause. And I leave you with hope and a heartfelt plea that you will do so. Your energy, idealism, and critical approach to the problems that face us will alone cause us to prevail. Care, worrying, and anxiety will on its own not get us very far. But the habit of asking questions, of pushing always towards understanding and the apprehension of truth, will be our salvation. Remember the proverb with which I began. Whatever the apparent cost of honest curiosity, it is always repaid. Curiosity may appear on occasions to have killed the cat, but satisfaction almost always brought it back for another one of its 9 lives. So my warmest and best wishes to you all for an exceedingly and exquisitely feline future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Dean, and congratulations to the class of 2018. As a fellow alumni, I'm very much looking forward to see where all of you end up. I just want to pick up on a couple of points that were made today, and I think your valedictorian in many ways laid it out best about the path that which you follow. And I think Dr. Neff is a good example of you got to know all kinds of different ways because it'll never be straight. And it may be because you're curious about something you run across and you change directions. It may be because you didn't get that job you thought you were going to get that you change directions. And you may just end up, if you're doing research, down a dead end that leads you to a path that you never expected. And I think it's that whole thing about curiosity and the ability to adapt and to move forward. And so I find it interesting because there's a phrase that I like, which unfortunately to the Chinese is viewed as a curse, which is may you live in interesting times. And the reason I don't think it's a curse, and particularly in today's world, is that it forces you to remain flexible. It forces you to remain adaptable. And it forces you to be curious about what's happening around you to figure out what direction you want to take through life. And I must say I find it sobering when I'm talking to a group like you because I realize that I look back on time in my memories that is still, for you, the same distance in the future. And I look at what the world did from the time that I was here, and I think of what you get to do in the next 40 and 50 years. And all I want to do is wish you all the very best as you go forward. So congratulations and best wishes. I would ask that you please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. And finally, please join now in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.